Welcome in to RotoGrinders today. We got a fun little NFL slate this week, but before we start talking about any NFL for this week, I want to talk about a little bit about yesterday. We had a fun, exciting little Thursday night game. I know anybody who drafted Trayvon Henderson with any sort of volume was excited to see him last week, and he followed it up with another good week. But we got a Pats fan in the house here, so Bobby and I were talking about some football before we went live, and I was like, you know what? Let's talk about this live because we were essentially talking about how legit the Patriots are. And obviously, what are they now? 9-2?
Yeah, 9 and maybe 8-2.
Yeah, 8-2, 9-2. And obviously you got Drake May, who is currently the betting favorite for MVP. Didn't necessarily have a big game last week, but they're currently the favorite to get the number 1 seed, or at least one of the favorites to get the 1 seed in the AFC. I think regular season wise, they look legit, right? But playoff wise, you were talking about the Chiefs going forward. So I guess, like, real quick, what are your thoughts on Patriots? How legit are they, and how do you feel about them as a Patriots fan?
Yeah, so I think that they're in a phenomenal spot um, with the schedule being what it is. I don't think it's the schedule at this point either, and I really haven't watched them all that much. Like last night was really the first night that I sat down and watched the game, and yeah, Drake May's doing stuff that it's more than just hype at this point in strength of schedule. He's legit. You combine that with Vrabel, with McDaniels. McDaniels doesn't get enough credit for being like one of the best offensive coordinators of all time, in my opinion, for what he's done with Brady and basically how May has how he's been able to take Drake May and what he did with Mac Jones in his rookie year too. Like people don't remember Mac Jones was gonna be he was like a rookie of the year candidate his rookie season, and that was under McDaniel. And then you have May come in, and May's been fantastic. Um, I'm really bullish about the Patriots. I think they need the 1 seed. I don't think they can go into KC at this point. With that the experience the roster has, I think will hurt them if they have to go on the road. Also, Spags and Andy Reid are, to me, probably the two best coaches of all time that's been behind a quarterback. Like I was always it was Brady than Belichick. Um, and I think that if you give Mahomes, Reid, and Spagnuolo, like that's just a phenomenal trio that you can have on a team that and then to go in an Arrowhead, it would be very difficult for the Patriots. But I think the Patriots do have their own little triumvirate in New England with May, Vrabel, and McDaniels. McDaniels is the offensive side of the ball. Spagnuolo is the defensive side of the ball in Kansas City. If they have to come here, I think it would be a little bit different. The Patriots might have a shot. But if they have to go to Kansas City without home field, they're in trouble. But I do think that they are in a very good position going forward.
Yeah, I definitely think that, obviously, like I mentioned earlier, betting favorites to get that number 1 seed. That's going to be a big thing for a team that's inexperienced, right? They really don't have any. I mean, obviously, their coaching staff has a good amount of experience in the playoffs, but top to bottom, these guys haven't seen the playoffs in a few years, and some of these guys haven't seen the playoffs at all. Drake May hasn't seen the playoffs, so that's going to be beneficial to have home field advantage, like you mentioned. Not have to go into Arrowhead, not have to go into Mile High, not have to go into Buffalo. So that's going to be a big advantage for sure. I will say though, the AFC I think is the most stacked it's been in a while, just because, like, obviously you have Mahomes, obviously you have Josh Allen. No matter who those guys have around them on their team, they're going to be, you know, very viable contenders because of those two guys. We've seen Mahomes do it for how many years in a row, where this is his best team he's had in the last 2 or 3 years, and you know, kind of got to feel like they have a really good chance to make it back to the Super Bowl. Um, I know Josh Allen hasn't gotten there yet, but he will. I mean, it's inevitable.
I don't know if he's getting there, to
he
be honest.
he's too good of a player because he's just, it's
But
like one of those.
it's not a he's one player. It's a team game. Like they're not structured to make, in my opinion, at this point, this current juncture, they're not better than KC. They're not
I
better
don't
than the
Maybe
Patriots.
not necessarily this year, but I mean, this guy he's going to be around for 10 more years. Like he's going to make at
Yeah,
least
and
one
so
Super
is Drake May.
Yeah, for sure. But I promise you, Josh Allen will
With
make it
better
to at
coaches
least.
around him. Allen doesn't have the coaches around him.
I think McDermott's fine. I think McDermott's
He's
great.
fine. He's
McDermott's
fine.
in
They're
my
not putting the team
opinion.
around him that you need to put around him.
And you got Joe Brady right
Keon
now.
Coleman, like, what a bust Keon Coleman is.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, they were expecting so much from Keon Coleman, and he cannot separate. Like, their best receiver is Khalil Shakir. Fine. That's perfectly fine. Dalton Kincaid, that's perfectly fine. It isn't even the offense as much for me with them as it is like their defense isn't good. Like, I don't think I think their defense is not great, and yeah, that's where they're gonna have the issues.
Yeah,
I mean, Allen.
I mean, if I'm sitting here today and I had to say, okay, who's going to be? Obviously, we don't know the way the matchups are going to play out, and who's going to have to face who in the playoffs. If I'm sitting here today and I have to pick two teams who are going to face each other in the AFC Championship game, I'm taking the Bills and the Chiefs again. Because the NFL is a quarterback league, and
the best quarterback is New England currently.
I disagree. I mean, I disagree with that like extremely heavily. Like,
all right, you can disagree with it all you want.
May's fantastic. I do think that there's a difference between being,
look at the efficiency ratings for Mahomes right now. Just saying, and then look at the efficiency ratings for Drake May. I'm not saying May's better than Mahomes. I'm just saying like if you take I just think the Patriots coaching staff, the Patriots defense. I don't think the Patriots beat the Chiefs. Like the Chiefs are a better team than the Patriots. What I'm saying is they're a lot closer than people actually think right now. I don't think the Bills are anywhere close to either of these two teams, even though the Bills just beat the Chiefs.
Let's fast forward. All right, it's
in the playoffs. Whatever. I don't think the Bills can get it done.
Who do you think the books favor between the Patriots and the Bills?
They favor the Bills.
Yeah. And I think that says a lot. I mean, that says all you really like. That's the proof in the pudding. I mean, the Vegas is where we turn to for so much information.
Break it up and bring out Blender. What?
Jets Magic is upset that we're talking.
This is a DFS show. We're talking DFS, right?
Jets Magic is a little upset that we're talking about the non Jets. But I will say though, the thing for me, Drake May, I do think is perfectly deserving of being in the MVP race and even potentially leading it. I do think that if this wasn't such a quarterback driven award, Jonathan Taylor is easily the runaway for this. He's having by far the best season of anybody. But most valuable player, yeah, I do think that is Drake May right now.
Go to a quarterback, it's going to go to Drake May.
Yeah, 100%. I think Drake May is the most deserving of MVP, but I don't think Drake May is the top
the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, but if the Patriots get home field, they have more of a shot than what they'll currently have what they would have if they had to go on the road. I don't think they have any chance to make the Super Bowl if they have to go on the road. But if they get home field, they have more of a shot now.
Yeah. 100%. That is a guarantee. But I will say, if you're giving me Bills, Ravens, Chiefs, Colts, taking all of those guys, all those teams over the Patriots right now. Although I do think Drake May is deserving of MVP. That is my takeaway. And yes, I do like Mike Vrabel. He gets the best out of some players. We've seen that. And hopefully he continues to see where these rookies are going because he's always been known to kind of keep those guys hidden a little too long. Did the same thing with Derrick Henry back in his Tennessee Titan days. Same thing with A.J. Brown a little bit, not to the same extent, but
I think McDaniels is the one that should get the credit. He doesn't get enough credit, man. McDaniels will get everyone involved. I'm not really worried about it.
He's definitely one of those guys who certainly a better offensive coordinator than a head coach. Jets Magic says, let's talk about Justin Fields. I promise you do not want that discussion. I don't want to talk about a guy who throws for 40 yards in an NFL game because we simply should not talk about him because he doesn't deserve to be talked about, at least not in a positive way as a passer.
I
But
feel bad for Jets Magic at my core.
yeah, I mean, Jets fans have it rough. I mean,
Jets fans have it rough. It's
yeah,
absolutely bullshit what that organization does day in and day out.
yeah, yep. But all right, let's talk a little bit more about DFS. I think it's always fun to talk about football outside of DFS because at the end of the day, that's what we're looking forward to in December and January. And I think after a Thursday night football game like last night, there's a good chance to talk about that. But we do have a pretty solid DFS slate. As I talked about last week with NBA like fully in swing, these shows are more of now like a second look, not quite a first look for me because obviously I'm doing a lot of football stuff leading up. But for a DFS perspective, I don't really build any lineups or anything until the weekend. So this is a good show to kind of run through on a first or second look basis. So we got that. But on this week's slate, very new because we have Josh Allen, Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, all these top quarterbacks all on the board. It's been a lot of mixing and matching with some cheapies over the past few weeks at the quarterback position. This week looks a little bit different. Do you have any, I guess, overlying thoughts on the slate? Is this kind of like a first look for you as well? Where do you stand right now on this week 12 slate?
It's pretty much a first look for me as well. Like outside of a little bit of content, I'm probably just building all my teams on Saturday. It is nice to have like the Chiefs back on the slate. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Coming off their bye week. 1 second, real quick.
Yeah,
Um,
Chiefs off the bye and Colts on the bye. So we have the best fantasy producer in football right now on bye with Jonathan Taylor, one of the top tight ends, Tyler Warren on bye as well. So let's talk about some of these quarterbacks real quick, and obviously we'll talk about stacks as well in that same vein. I think it was last week. Grant was pretty high on JJ McCarthy and this Viking stack. Ended up JJ McCarthy ended up being fine, but didn't necessarily get any of his pass catchers there. Obviously, had about 19 DK points at sub 5K. He was perfectly fine. He currently has. Let me pull up the screen share for lineup HQ. He currently has the best RG value rating by a good margin on the slate with a solid projection of about 21 points. Has the rushing upside, 5-2, good match against Chicago. So let's start off with McCarthy, see if you like him or not, and then give me a couple of other quarterbacks you like this week.
McCarthy would probably be my second favorite at 5,200. Chicago's secondary hasn't been good, so I totally get that. Pairing McCarthy, probably looking at Jefferson. Like I think it's pretty easy. Jefferson, Aaron Jones has been playing pretty well. His prices down at 5,500, and based on how he's playing, that seems like good value, in my opinion. Outside of that, like probably TJ Hawkinson getting to like when McCarthy hits his ceiling, it's probably through Jefferson, but a guy like Hawkinson really isn't far behind. Is Addison playing? I'm not Jordan Addison really isn't hitting any of my stuff. Is he currently
He should be good to go. I haven't seen any negative reports on him, so yeah, he should be good to
he's
go.
very low. He looks like he's gonna be around like 3% at 5,500, so I don't mind that. Especially as like one of the lower owned plays that you can get with McCarthy if McCarthy's gonna be around 12%.
Yeah.
Um terms of run backs, like in this game for Chicago, there are like some pretty viable run backs. Looks like Zacchaeus at this point at this juncture is getting a good bit of ownership, which is at 3,300. Like I don't love it. Probably more of a play I'm going to be under on, but there is opportunity in this game for game stacking, I would say. If you want to go to DJ Moore or who's the other guy there?
Rome.
Dunze.
Yep.
Is Moore? What's the deal with? Are those guys healthy? Moore and Dunze?
Yeah, I think DJ Moore's on the injury report, but I think he's going to be good to go. He should be
That's
fine.
the worst thing about this early shows. We don't have any injury reports.
Yeah, we'll probably honestly get a lot of that stuff in even live right now. But yeah, as of Friday, DJ Moore and Rome have both been practicing limited pretty much all week, so those guys will be good to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for me, like when looking at SimLabs popping over here, we got JJ McCarthy currently with the top optimal rate, which is always good to see, but the ownership's following it. So that's the one issue that I have um, with McCarthy. Like, yeah, he is by far the best cheap quarterback, but Don Easy brings up a good potential pivot here. Jacoby Brissett, who's third in terms of optimal rate, and he's right around 9%. So he's not necessarily going unowned, but when you consider the leverage between him and JJ, it's going to be pretty significant. With McBride, dude, last week it was insane with the target share that McBride had. Brissett didn't have anybody else in mind. He was simply dropping back and looking for one guy and one guy only, and it works. I mean, when you have a guy like McBride who can be so dynamic from number to number, not even just in the red zone as a tight end, he can do it all throughout the entire course of the field. Those guys look like they have a pretty good connection. So I love this call by Don Easy. So Brissett looks good.
I'm with Easy on Brissett being my favorite currently. It's super condensed too, like we know it's going McBride, so
Yeah.
I would much rather play Brissett currently over JJ. If I have like a single entry team, like I'm probably leaning Brissett over JJ.
Yeah, I love that call. Obviously, it seems like Marvin Harrison Jr. might miss this one. Obviously, Zay Jones is out for the year now with that torn Achilles. So it went from being condensed to ultra condensed with potentially some of these injuries here. So that
We're
is one
getting a
thing.
good price on Michael Wilson too at 3,800.
Yeah, for sure.
Dortch is 3,300. Like we know it's condensed. We like the offense. Good spot. Brissett's 4,900. Like, yeah, it's good play.
Yeah, I think both of those guys are going to look pretty good once we get Marvin Harrison Jr. officially. I would say he's probably doubtful right now. So once those guys are ultimately ruled out, those guys are going to look really good. You can also make a case for even pairing him up with some of these running backs here. It does seem like, with Bam Knight likely to miss this game, or at least a good chance to miss this game. Could see Michael Carter back involved, Amari DiMercado. So I think both of those guys, you can also make a case for pairing up with Brissett in a spot where they're probably going to throw the ball a decent amount. So, yeah, I would say, my top three are probably going to be Brissett. I do like Mahomes quite a bit, even though it's a tough matchup. I want to see the Patrick Surtain news. I think he missed practice yesterday. If he's out, the Denver defense is still good, but they're much more attackable and they're much easier to stack against from a passing perspective because they're probably not going to run the ball much with guys like Kareem Hunt and maybe Isaiah Pacheco, depending on if he plays or not. So if Patrick Surtain is out, big bump to Patrick Mahomes for me. So that would probably be the spot I'm currently looking at the most. Any other spots that you want to point out? We didn't really talk about Justin Herbert yet. Any thoughts there?
Not Herbert. More Michael Penix. Drake London's really come on.
Yeah.
He's going to be owned, but adding Penix to that stack, I think, makes a good bit of sense. Kyle Pitts as well. Bijan can always be in the mix in that scenario. Then Tet as a run back. Should have talked about CMC as a run back before Brissett.
Yeah, Don Easy shouted that one out in the chat. So yeah,
he's always on top of it, Easy. So
yeah.
Yeah,
I think for me, I mean, I at least wanted to mention Herbert because he is popping in SimLabs right now. Gadsden, he fully practiced all week, so he's good to go. So that was, extremely positive. It looks like, obviously some of the Twitter doctors can be wrong at times, but there was some speculation that it could have been a much, much more significant injury if it was a potential like patella fracture, which sounds painful as hell. So Gadsden just having a quad bruise looks like he's good to go. So that's always nice to have for Herbert, but it's still a little tricky to stack around him. Like how you mentioned Arizona with how condensed it is. It's not quite the same for the Chargers and Herbert. You kind of got to hope to get lucky with McConkey or QJ or Allen or Gadsden. So it's a little bit more spread out there. But figured out at least throw him out there. You can always play Josh Allen. You can always play even Lamar, even though it's a really bad matchup for Lamar, but he could run 2 in and throw a 50-yard touchdown to Zay Flowers and easily get there, even in a difficult matchup. They always like to turn up against those divisional opponents too. So at like no ownership, I still don't mind Lamar. Certainly prefer all the other options we talked about compared to Lamar, but still worth mentioning. Any other like random, maybe obviously you mentioned Penix. I feel like he's going to be a good tournament option. Any other tournament quarterbacks that you like maybe deep shots? You know what? I can't believe I didn't mention him off the rip. Jameis Winston expected to start this week. Any interest in the gunslinger Jameis Winston or any other
What team is Jameis Winston on? The Giants?
the Giants? Yeah. So we'll have maybe Darius Slayton. I think Darius Slayton got banged up again. Jalen Hyatt.
What's Winston's price? Like, if his price is good, yeah.
I think
I'm
he's
not
4
currently
7.
getting any Winston though.
Yeah,
4,600. I guess he's in that range.
brutal
Like,
matchup, but
yeah, the matchup isn't great. I would be more interested in like Davis Mills at 4,500. Like, can we just go back to Davis Mills? Davis Mills, Nico Collins, Woody Marks. Like, there's an opportunity to stack there in Tennessee's defense. First, both the rush and the pass has been putrid pretty much all year. So, like, Davis Mills, I'm fine with. He has some rushing equity. Joe Flacco. Never a bad thing when you can hook on like Flacco to Chase.
yeah.
Those guys. We're definitely paying down at quarterback this week for what it's worth. Like, there's no way I can see myself spending up at the quarterback position just because of the tremendous value that we have there.
Yeah, I think there are certainly a couple of tournament plays that I like in the spend up options, mainly just Allen and Mahomes. But yeah, a lot of these players projecting better are the cheaper guys. You mentioned Joe Flacco. That's a good call. This is the same matchup. I know people are still getting scared like about Pittsburgh, which I get, especially it's getting colder. These games get uglier, especially these division games in formerly Heinz Field. I don't know what the hell it's called now, but that Thursday night game against the same matchup, Joe Flacco last time out threw the ball a million times, 47 attempts, 31 completions, 340 yards and 3 touchdowns. When this Cincinnati team is like built for shootouts because they'll just throw the ball 1,000 times and they have no defense. And on the other side, the Steelers defense is not what it used to be. So yeah, I like that Flacco shout quite a bit. Let's hop over to running backs. There are a few running backs that I definitely want to touch on. A couple of these guys that are projecting really well in that same game. Chase Brown and Jalen Warren amongst two of the better projected running backs on the slate. What are your thoughts on those two and then any other potential running back options?
In terms of running back, 1 sec, sorry. McCaffrey seems like the one that is going to stand out versus Arizona. Arizona's defense has been pretty good for what it's worth, but like, I think his ownership's elevated because of his price, which is good price in general, but he's also probably going to be inflated too because I do think people are going to gravitate towards Arizona as the week progresses. Chase Brown would be the next play for me, 5,700. I want to be ahead of it on Chase Brown. Like, I think he was someone a lot of people were bullish on coming into the year, and then Burrow had the injury. The offensive line looked terrible. That he's someone I like. You hit on Warren for Cincinnati. Like, I would rather play the Brown side, but I definitely think Warren is in play. But yeah, if like we're running the slate right now, I'd probably be under on Jalen Warren at 6,100 because I like Brown. I like Woody Marks at 5,400. There's guys there, and then I'd rather get up to McCaffrey at 9K than get to Warren.
Yeah, that's fair. I think Warren's probably my preferred option compared to Chase Brown, but I can't really argue it too much just because, I mean, Warren, I'll pull up the game log for that game real quick. 23 DK points against this same team, Cincinnati. Season high 20 or almost season high 21 touches, 16 carries, 127 yards, and he actually in that game had a 20-yard touchdown called back. So this Cincinnati defense just cannot stop anybody. And in games where Pittsburgh can get ahead, it's going to be more Jalen Warren than anybody else. And that obviously
What do you have for a projection for both of them?
I mean, right now, working off the RotoGrinders projections, we got Jalen Warren at 17.5, Chase Brown at 19. In my personal model, I do have Warren higher than Chase Brown by a touch. I have Jalen Warren at 18.5 and Chase Brown at 17.9. So, like I said, prefer Jalen Warren slightly. I also will say we got a little maybe coach speak from Mike Tomlin this week saying that they want to give Jalen Warren even more touches because he's just been awesome. Every time they give him the ball, he is awesome. He's been that way since he got into the league. And obviously, Kenny Gainwell has that role as that third down guy, but I'm not going to be surprised to see even more work for Jalen Warren. They said that before the last time they played Cincy, and he had a big game. Now he has a great matchup again. A couple of guys that I wanted to touch on real quickly. Woody Marks here. He's probably a guy that I'm going to make a pitch for to get this projection boosted up in our internal Slack. 5-4, great matchup against Tennessee. He had his breakout game against Tennessee in I think week 4. Week 4, 28 points, 17 carries. Again, a little bit of coach speak, but D'Amico Ryans came out and said these guys aren't rookies anymore. They're huge parts of our offense, and we want to get Woody Marks the ball more. He's earned it. Nick Chubb is complete dust. So you have a matchup now against Tennessee that just lets people do whatever they want. So the team total is not super high with Davis Mills under center for Houston, but I think Woody Marks is a smash as well. You got Aaron Jones, who's essentially removing Jordan Mason from the equation because Mason has not been good. My favorite tournament play, though, was RJ Harvey this week at 5-4. What are your thoughts on Harvey taking over for J.K. Dobbins, who's likely going to miss this game? Obviously, brutal matchup against Kansas City, but I like to throw it back to last week with Trayvon Henderson. No Ramondre Stevenson, brutal matchup against Tampa, massive game. RJ Harvey, if people aren't going to play him enough, I love him at 5-4.
Yeah, right now I don't love it. I'd rather play Woody Marks.
Yeah.
But for the ownership, if you have them projecting within a point of each other or whatever, that's fine to flip. For me currently, I have Warren and Chase Brown within a point of each other. And if Warren's going to be more owned, then I'd rather just play a little bit more Chase Brown than Warren. Obviously, I'm still getting to Warren.
Yeah.
I would imagine RJ Harvey's going to come up for me as the week kind of progresses. But right now, I'm under the field and just have more Woody Marks.
Yeah, that's fair. I think certainly going to be an ownership play for me on RJ Harvey. We'll have to monitor the ownership there. And then last thing at running backs that I'll touch on is to monitor that Arizona backfield. If Bam Knight is out, we're going to see another value option potentially open up, whether it be Michael Carter or DeMercado. Either way, we just got news Trey Hendrickson ruled out. It's a bump for all the Steelers guys, including Jalen Warren. So that always helps. But let's talk about some receivers now. Obviously, we touched about on some of these guys with stacks and whatnot. But who do you prefer? What are some of your favorite spots for receivers this week?
Yeah, Chase up top. I think versus Pittsburgh. You hit it on Pittsburgh too. I think you did a really good job of kind of basically saying what Pittsburgh is in the secondary. They haven't been great. So anytime I get Jamar Chase for a secondary that's been somewhat struggling, I just rather take advantage of that. 8,500, I really like Chase in the spot. Khalil Shakir at 5,300 probably be a value play for a lot of people versus Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay also has a secondary that hasn't been great. You can beat them over the middle of the field, so don't mind Shakir. I think he has a Q tag though, so a lot of this stuff's in flux. We're doing this before we're getting injury reports. Drake London been absolutely on fire. He's someone I wouldn't mind getting to at 7,400 as well. If he's going to be 20%, being 5% over the field, I'm totally fine with. Jefferson, I think he's in play. Obviously, if you like J.J. McCarthy, you probably like Jefferson on the other side.
Yeah.
in terms of value, the Arizona guys that we kind of talked about, and Dortch and Wilson, I think those guys are very strong plays from a value perspective. Wandale, I think in that for Jameis at 5,500, I think works a little bit as well. And those are like the main receivers that I think will be making my pool on Sunday.
Yeah, I like all those calls. I think for me, maybe one day, I'm not sure if you mentioned him or not, but Parker Washington is a guy
Yeah.
that I like quite a bit. He's got 26 targets over the last 3 weeks. Brian Thomas does have a chance to play this week. I think he's been limited all week. I think it's a shoulder injury. So if he's out again, all systems go once again for Parker Washington. Um, Jacoby Myers is there now, but he also, he's still fairly new to the team, and I think they just love Parker Washington. I mean, Jacoby Myers theoretically would have been the guy that could have stepped in and taken all the slot works, all the slot snaps, but that wasn't the case. They love Parker Washington. They played him in the slot exclusively last week. I think even when Brian Thomas gets back, it's still going to be Parker Washington in the slot, not Jacoby Myers, and therefore I think he's still going to look pretty good. He's more expensive now at 5-1, but still good. Romeo Dobbs, also like him with all these injuries for the Packers. Obviously, Tucker Kraft is out. They did not use tight ends the same way last week that they have been with Tucker Kraft. They just don't feel as confident with guys like Luke Musgrave and John Fitzpatrick, and why would they? Tucker Kraft is a beast. You mentioned Shakir. Love that call. McDermott did come out today and said that he's in a good spot to play this week, so I'm expecting him to be perfectly fine, ready to go. And this Bills team, they're going to come out wanting to put up some points after their massive dud last week. So we could see some action there for Buffalo. I like the Shakir call quite a bit. I talked about some of these Kansas City guys. We have Xavier Worthy projecting pretty well. It's tough to have any confidence there, but a lot of this attention is going to be put on Rashee Rice. And if Patrick Surtain plays, he's going to be following Rashee Rice. There's no doubt about that in my mind. If he sits, they're still going to be, looking to shut down Rashee Rice. They're probably going to have a more difficult time doing so. But I think both of those guys are interesting options. Worthy finally under 5K. You wouldn't have thought that at the beginning of the year when you were in your season-long drafts that we'd see Xavier Worthy cheaper than Parker Washington and Romeo Dobbs, but in Wandale Robinson. But here we are. But Worthy, I do think at least a tournament play. Don Easy saying Joanne Jennings, don't mind that call. For what it's worth, sounds like Ricky Pearsall is going to return. It'll probably be pretty eased in though, so probably not something that I'm overly worried about. But we talked about the Arizona guys. You mentioned Drake London. You can also play Darnell Mooney, who has seemed to forget what hands are the past couple weeks, but he is 3-7 in a great matchup against Carolina. But I think that's pretty much it for me at receiver. You talked about all the top end guys. Obviously, you can play Jamar and JSN and Puka. Most of those guys are going to be stack dependent for me. Or, if I can't get to one of the top end running backs, I think all these guys are fantastic options to play over some of these running backs. Like on a slate like this, you have CMC and Bijan up at the top. Jacobs is kind of up there as well. I feel like those are fairly, they're not easy bullets to dodge, but having JT not on the slate, that you can make a case for saying, all right, if I spend up at receiver and get 35 from one of those guys, you have a better chance at dodging some of the bullets of the running back spend ups if you can't fit them all. Tight end real quick. I'm probably just going to slam Trey McBride in. I think he's fantastic this week. I think he could have 15 plus targets. There are some value options, Otten, Theo Johnson, Gadsden I do like, but for the most part, I'm going to be playing as much Trey McBride as I can. Any different thoughts there?
So, yeah, I'm a little different. Well, I do think McBride's the best play. With all this value, I think he's the easiest guy to just fill in. And we have guys that you can kind of pay up for on the slate. So, I think I prefer Kate Otten at 4,200 to McBride from a tournament perspective. Well, I think McBride is undoubtedly the best play at the tight end position. I think, getting to McBride, I think is fine. Getting to Kyle Pitts depends on Gadsden's health, really. Hawkinson, I think, is in a pretty good spot. Kittle, guys like that. I don't mind getting to a little bit. Not making McBride like the spend up for me and really trying to like get up to Chase and McCaffrey and guys that I think are really good plays in terms of like just total upside. But McBride has the upside too. So maybe I'm wrong in saying that.
Yeah, I mean, for
I
me,
think I might be incorrect. Like McBride's right there with Chase and McCaffrey. I think I probably prefer the two of those guys ahead of McBride, but McBride still has that. Like we seen it last week, what he put up 30. So I'm wrong in saying that. I'm more. The more I think about it, I think you have the right take, and I'm just just not thinking through enough.
yeah, I think from upside perspective, I think you're right. Like CMC and all those top end receivers, the ceiling is for sure more consistent, and it's just higher. But McBride does have 21 plus points in 3 of his last 4 games. But the way that I see it is, you can still get to one of these spend up receivers, and again, it does. The way I'm probably building lineups right now is probably trying to dodge bullets of these spend up running backs, because there's a lot of really good mid-tier running backs that we talked about, like both of the guys in the Bengals game, Aaron Jones, Woody Marks, RJ Harvey, all these mid-tier running backs. Then you spend up at one of the receiver positions, and for me, if McBride was 6'3" at the receiver position, he would be projecting as the best receiver on the board for me, or at least one of them. I do think that he's projecting that good, and I'll just say I think he would be the best receiver on the board if I could play him at receiver, and that's so. I'm probably just slamming in McBride, but if you want to spend up at running back and receiver, to your point, tight end is a pretty good spot to spend down at, because if McBride doesn't have a massive game, there's nobody else on this at this position having like a massive game. I would say the highest ceiling outside of McBride is Kittle or Gadsden. So yeah, if you wanted to, so for me, I'm like trying to dodge bullets from running backs. You're trying to, maybe your initial thought was maybe just
I
dodge
think you swayed me. Like I think I need to just get in. I'm overthinking it. I need to get to McBride. Like he's just looking at it. He's probably just the right play.
Yeah, I think. I think that 6'3" price tag, I just don't think is enough. I think I would genuinely pay 7 for him in the spot, especially if we're right and Marvin Harrison is out. All right, that's it for tight end. I'm not going to talk about defense because no. Tennessee though projecting pretty well. Any other thoughts on the slate? What do you think?
It's crazy the year's gone by this fast. In
I
terms
know.
of like slate thoughts, I don't know. It's just another DFS week. Nice to have the Chiefs back on the slate. I will say that. That's getting like Chiefs are always interesting, especially when they're in the late window, because you have optionality in terms of like what you want to do with late swap if you're behind and you have guys that are tied to Patrick Mahomes. So yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't know. Pay up for McBride, Chase, or McCaffrey, and then build your teams from there. Go down to QB.
I like it. I will I'll give out a couple bets real quick because I got a couple. I will say, check out the NBA plays. I had a really bad day the other night, but last night,
You're the best at NBA, dude. What are you talking about?
dude, I got my ass kicked the other night. I think I went 1-5 in NBA, and I will say I took 2 spreads the night before. Giannis was out, so that, I kind of was thinking he was going to play. He didn't play. The Bucks got rolled. No real surprise there. Same thing with the Warriors. Thought that they were going to have Steph and Draymond sit, and they ended up only playing 20 minutes on the front half of back-to-back, so they didn't have to sit the second half of back-to-back. So they beat the Spurs when Steph had like 45. So 2 bad spread plays for me. And then I got hooked on a couple of player props. But luckily, the Nuggets covered the -2 on the night slate 2 nights ago. So at least I didn't like fully get rocked. But I'll be looking for a comeback tonight because I took last night off. So looking for a comeback tonight. I got a big Friday slate, so make sure you guys are checking out scores and odds for my plays there. I got 2 NFL plays though. Pick number 1, I'm taking the Texans -6. Looks like there's a -5.5 out there. I don't think Tennessee is going to score. They're atrocious. They're so bad. And Houston has the top 3 defense in football. So give me the Texans -6. And then taking Jonnu Smith over 19.5 receiving yards. I like that one up to about 22.5 receiving yards. He had a nice game against the Bengals last time out. I know they're using Freiermuth. They're using Darnell Washington a bit, but they're using a lot of tight ends here. They're going to continue to use Jonnu Smith as well. So give me the over there. 19.5 is a pretty low number considering it's also up at 22.5 on other books. So, yeah, that's the 2 bets for me. Like I mentioned, check out my NBA stuff later. Those will be up. Bobby, anything else for the people?
No, good luck, everyone, on the slate this weekend.
Yeah, best of luck to everybody in the NBA streets, NFL streets. In some of these future shows, we're going to start incorporating a little bit more NBA depending on who the guest is. But nonetheless, best of luck on the Week 12 NFL stuff. Until next time, good luck, everybody.